Hoosier Prepping Nurse, that's me, Sally. Today we are going to be canning ham. It is a whole ham that I got on the Flash Food app like last June. I think I paid around $17 for it. It is an app that groceries line up with, and they will list their items that are getting close to best by date or if they've overstocked on it, and usually it's 50% off. You can get some awfully great deals on there, and this ham is just one of them. So what I'm going to do off camera is to chop up the ham into cubes. I'm going to make my broth, and I will go over the broth with you whenever I show it. Because it is from Better Than Bouillon, this ham does not have a bone in it, so I cannot make bone broth, and I don't have any ham broth canned. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. Didn't show you a picture of the ham before I cut it up. This is it. It is a Sugardale ham, and it weighs 9.75 pounds. So this is going to be a really great addition. I can chop it up to make ham salad. I can add it to ham and beans. I can add it to stir fry. There are just so many different things that you can do with this. Okay, so I've got the ham in the water heating up. I'm heating up some extra broth. I do have more ham also. I just couldn't fit it all in that container. But I wanted to show you guys that this is the way that I store my canner when I'm not using it. It's got the weights in it. It's got an extra ring in it. It's got a cap that's laying on my other stuff. This has got more things in it for repairs. There's spare things just in case something happens and I absolutely need it. I also keep a 2 funnels in here. That way I've got them whenever I need them and I don't have to go looking for them. And no nephews and nieces can get into it and take them because this goes up on a top shelf. But whenever this is all hot, I'm going to get the water in my canner, get the jars in it, and then whenever the ham is hot, I will bring it back. The thing I wanted to show you before I got started putting the water in it is things that you always want to check for safety is make sure that your black rubber, this is the pressure release valve, turns around that you can get your fingernails underneath it. That ensures that if the pressure does get too hot, this is going to pop off rather than the lid trying to come off of it. This is also, I'm going to have to look up the name for this because I'm drawing a blank for it. But whenever this comes up, that means that you have got pressure. It's at the right pressure. You let it vent for 10 minutes. And this thing that's sticking up is a pipe cleaner. And this is one way to make sure that this stays completely clear. After each day that I get through using the canner, I will clean it. I make sure that I scrub around the rubber and this pressure doohickey thing, which I need to look up the name for, and I make sure that I clean this out too. That way I know I'm going to get good venting on it. So let me get the jars in, get the water in it, and we will get going. Okay, so my ham and the broth is hot. This broth is hot. My jars are hot. My lids are soaking in warm, extremely warm water. And I've got my vinegar ready to go to wipe around the rims of the jars. So oh, one thing I wanted to tell you guys is, let me get this over here where you can see it. This is the air vent cover log. That's what that is called. So you want to make sure from both sides that it's moving freely, and you want to make sure that this black pressure button is really free and can rotate around. And one best way to tell if this is open is to actually look at it through the sun, look at the sunlight through it, make sure. We already talked about the best way to clean that is. So let me get out the jars. We're gonna get the jars out, fill them one at a time, and get them back into the hot water. Because the water from the broth and the ham will, any coolness that these may have gotten, will get back up. And today, the lids that I am using is the Denali canning lids. I've had really good luck with these. I've had 100% seal so far. Some people have had some issues, so I don't know if it's the rings that they're using or what, but I started using them This is February 23. I started using them like back in June of 22, and I've had 100% seal. And I have canned an awful lot with those. So what we're gonna do is get the ham into the jars. First, you wanna leave about an inch headspace with this. And I'm gonna use a ladle with holes in it so I can drain the juice off, because I want to get as much ham as I possibly can. And just to reinforce, this is considered to be rebel canning. It is not USDA approved. I cut the chunks about 1 inch at the most, and that's what other canners have recommended. See if I can get just a couple more in there. And then because I have got this with a pour spout, which is another reason why I kind of like these. These are my Revere ware. And there's other brands that have got the pour spout too. But for something like this, you can just take it and pour it. And I don't have to ladle it. And you want to make sure that the ham is covered. If you can't get the ham covered with that 1 head inch space, then you need to take some of the ham out. And I'm just going to debubble, just like we do with basically everything. And I think I'm over my 1 inch head space, as actually this right down here. And this one has got the marker on it. So yeah, I am like way over. So let's take some of the ham out. You have to get a spoon out to do this. Ooh, ouch. This is warm. I will say that. Get a couple more chunks of ham out. Oh, at least one. And then just put a little bit of broth just so that my ham is covered. Since this is a meat, you want to take your vinegar. And some people do use water. You can do that. I like to use the vinegar because that gets any grease that may have gotten on it off. Just go around it a couple times. Get your insert out, which I seem to want to always stick two together. Get that on and get the ring on. And you want to do finger tight. So you can take these 2 fingers, second to the little one, and your thumb. That combination is one of the weakest. And just screw it on till it's finger tight. And then I'm gonna, because that jar is really hot, I'm gonna take my lifter and put it back in. Then we'll get these other 3 jars done exact same way. I'm gonna go ahead and fill up the canner, and then I will bring you back. Okay, I'm down to my last jar, and I'm gonna try something that Linda's Pantry did whenever she was canning ham. And I think she did it whenever she was canning chicken also. But herbes de provenance. This is a Trader Joe's one, but I love this stuff. And I'm just going to put a teaspoon, a scant teaspoon, into the bottom of this. I know where in the canner the jar is going to go. So I'll know which one has got it in it. But then I'll get this filled up, and then we will get it into the canner. And I forgot to mention on putting water in your canner, the water level. Check your manual and see what it says. Mine actually has a little notch that is on the inside of it under this handle here. It's the one that's opposite of the V. I don't know if all canners are like that or not, but it goes up to that water level. And I actually measured it today because I've always just put water in up until that level. And it took 10.5 cups of water to do it. I've got a container that's got 8 cups to it. So I used it. I think I got too much in here. I certainly did, didn't I? And my hands are clean, by the way. I am obsessed with having clean hands in the kitchen, especially since I've got pets. Well, anybody. It doesn't matter if you got pets or not. You should always have clean hands whenever you're cooking. Let's see here. I have used this Better Than Bouillon to can with before. I had the chicken and I used it. This is the ham one. It was 1 teaspoon per 8 ounces, and I made up 6 times 8 on the broth for both of it. And I've got more ham to put in this. If there is just some broth left over, I'm gonna can it also, because I can use it to fix rice in. I can use it to make soup with. Actually, it might be really good. It has a base for ham and bean soup to do it. So this is filled, and it looks like it's about the right height for it. Yeah, maybe a little bit. We'll debubble it and see if it goes down, and I may have to take some out. This actually goes really pretty quick as far as canning goes. There's very little prep, cutting up the ham, heating it up. If you have got the ham bone, you can make broth with it. Let me grab a fork here to get some of that ham out, because I don't want to use my scoop and take some of those herbs out that I put in, because they have done floated up to the top. Back in here. Okay, let me get it wiped off. And my canner is a Presto canner. I kind of looked up. I didn't realize that you weren't supposed to can on flat top stoves. And one day when I was reading about that, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I checked, and this actually is the model that's made to use on flat top stoves. So I was extremely happy about that. It's like make sure this is going to go down okay. Real life TV here, or video. This jar is too hot to touch to really hold it. Let me grab a towel here. Okay, we're going to try. Actually, I'm going to try an extra insert here. Actually, we're not. I am going to go with this one. I'll let it ring. I had it on there once. I don't know why. There we go. Finger tight. And into the canner. Ouch. They're hot. And you never want to run a canner without enough jars in it, even if they're empty jars, because chances are that if you do, you may wind up with some breakage in the jars, or the lids may come off because of where they bang around. Okay. So this has got a V on it. Make sure my insert is in there. This has got a V on it right here, and on the, sorry Bentley, he's over here trying to help me. On the canner, helps if you get it on right, and are standing in front of it. I'm going to move you all over. Sorry Bentley, I'm sorry honey. I'm going to take my dog out here. Everything is on there. Usually, of course, when I'm not taping, this goes on like a gem, and now that I'm taping, there. And then you turn it so that it locks. And then I've got the heat on under it. I'm going to leave it. I've got mine on my electric stove. I've got it at a 4. I'm going to just let it heat up a little bit with it at that 4, and then I'll come back in. And on mine, I'll probably turn it up to maybe an 8 and let it really start building that pressure up. As soon as this pops up, I'll put my jiggler on once it starts to jiggle. Well, I let it vent for 10 minutes. Once this pops up, then I put my jiggler on after the 10-minute vent up here, and I'll bring you back for that. And once the jiggler starts, that is when we actually start our timing. And for pints, it is 75 minutes. If you do quarts, I believe that it's 90 minutes that you do. And you can do half pints. I have done those, and I may actually end up doing some. If I do, I'm going to cut the meat up finer for it. But the half pints are good for like just like fried rice dishes, you know, if that's the only thing you want it for, or if you want to ground it up and make like ham salad, just a little bit of it, so you're not opening up a whole quart, or not a whole quart, or a whole pint for it. And I think that pretty well covers it. If I think of anything else, I will bring you guys back and let you know what's going on, what I've forgotten with it. And I do use both front and back burner because this is so big. It's just a big pan, period. I do it with my other big pans whenever I'm doing like tomatoes to can also, but I get a more even heat whenever I've got both of them going rather than just trying to rely on the other one. And I also have enough space that I can reach around and back to the dials without really risk getting burnt, which I have done before, and that hurts, let me tell you, off the canner. So I think that's it. I will see you guys in a little bit. Real quick, one thing I didn't do, I knew there was something I was forgetting, was put your vinegar that's left over from wiping down your jars, because that will keep your cleaner not only clean, but it will keep the buildup off of the, off the jars too. You won't get that white buildup on it. And that works with hard water, it works with city water, because we can still get some buildup from city water. When I first bought this house, we had well water that was pumped into the additions, and now we're on city water, so it's better. But you still do it. You won't regret it, trust me. So I don't know what's going on. I turned my camera off, but I always like to show if something out of the ordinary happens. See all this steam that's coming out from down here? It doesn't do that. So I'm going to check my seal again. If the seal turns out not to be any good, I do have 2 other seals that I can put in it, and then we will get back to canning. Okay, so I took the lid off, looked at it, I let it cool off completely. It was still pretty warm, but there wasn't any pressure left in it. Seal looks great. I put it back on, and it's done great. I don't know what happened the last time, but if you guys ever see something that doesn't look like it's normal, stop what you're doing, let it cool off, and double check just to be on the safe side. So my air vent cover lock that I now know the name of is up. I've got the steam, I don't know if you can see it, coming out. You can see the moisture coming up here where it's coming out. So I'm going to start my 10 minutes on this, and then at the end of the 10 minutes I will put my weights on it. I am less than 1,000 feet sea level, so I use a 10-pound weight, which is right here, you can see. And I'll get that on there in 10 minutes, and then we will time it for 75 minutes after that. Okay, so as you can tell, this is, let me turn on my light here a little bit better. It is jiggling. That is a good speed for me. So I am going to go ahead and turn this down to about 5.5. I have been in past canning sessions. This is a good push. It's not generating a ton of heat, but it's enough to keep this going. So then we just put the timer on for 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is actually now I'm 15 minutes, which is the time for it. This one is kind of touchy. Hey, this gets so hot. I can't imagine having that up against. There we go. Can't imagine having that back part up because that gets so hot as it is. So it's Why is this not? Usually it drops down. Okay, now it should start. Okay, I will, whenever this is cooled off and I'm ready to take them out of the jar, out of the canner, I will bring you guys back. But when my time is up, I leave the pressure gauge on, wait for this to drop down, then I can open it, and I usually give it a few minutes after I shift the handles on it to help let some of that heat out. And whenever you take it off, you turn it away from you. Not very good symbol. I will show you guys whenever I get ready to do that.